You people, it's Friday, so you know what that means. Let's welcome tonight's guest. He considered the Pilgrims too ethnic. Fox News contributor Tom Shalhoub. She's so tough, Venezuelan gangs are afraid of her. Fox News anchor Julie Banderas. She's like AT&T cell service, expensive and always breaking down. New York Times bestselling author and Fox News contributor Kat Tipp. And whoever said no man is an island never met Tyrus. New York Times bestselling author, comedian, and former NWA world champion, Tyrus. There you go. All right, so before we get to some news stories, let's do this.
Greg's Leftovers.
All right, it's Leftovers, where I read the jokes we didn't use this week, and as always, it's my first time reading them. So if they suck, we'll cover Joe Mackey with banana pudding, throw him in a chimpanzee exhibit, and watch him get his face ripped off. Again. New documents reveal that Commander, the Biden's family dog, bit Secret Service agents 24 times, which makes you wonder, where would a dog learn such behavior? Of course, normally the offender would be euthanized, but Democrats think they can drag Biden through Election Day. And did you know on that occasion, or one occasion, White House tours had to be suspended to mop blood off the floor? Yeah, to keep visitors from slipping, they soaked it all up with cocaine. Julie's been there. Meanwhile, Joe Biden's reliance on note cards to answer pre-selected questions is making some donors worry about his age. Also causing worries about his age, calendars. An op-ed suggested Kamala Harris may be the Democrats' secret weapon. That way, Democrats can justify dropping her over Syria. Earlier this week, during his rally, Donald Trump officially launched his high-top gold sneakers, prompting Joe Biden to release his own footwear. They're not even orthopedic. Meanwhile, Hunter Biden's lawyers claim prosecutors mistook a photo of lines of sawdust for cocaine. That was actually mine, said one of Hunter's longtime associates. Yeah, he had a big sawdust problem back in the 80s, him and Charlie Sheen. All right, according to British health officials, trans women's milk is just as good as natural milk, which reminds me, never eat cookies with British health officials. This week, protesters dumped manure at Nancy Pelosi's San Francisco home, which upset her. She normally likes to eat out. Your applause is like a warm bath. Okay. Researchers have developed a new robot for the elderly that could replace human caregivers, as it performs basic tasks like cleaning, preparing meals, and stealing your jewelry. I swear she's stealing from me. Israeli scientists say they're one step closer to solving male infertility after successfully growing artificial testicles in a lab. And I believe we have a photo of where they keep them. And already, potential patients are getting in line for the new testicles.
Saw that coming.
Texas police say antique shoppers saw a man putting items in his rectum and then back on the shelves. He claims he put them back because it clashed with the furniture in his ass. According to images released by NASA, several East Coast cities like New York, Baltimore, and Norfolk are actually sinking into the earth. Coincidentally, each city had recently been visited by this man. Why? I'm sorry, Chris. The FDA is warning against using smartwatches to check blood glucose levels, and added they strongly advise against doing prostate exams with selfie sticks.
What?
Data shows that TV programs people stream the most are old shows, and the ones that people stream the least are those about fraudulent blowhards with no friends and a micropenis.
Why?
I don't know. NASA is asking for applicants who want to spend a year in a simulated Mars habitat. Usually to have to endure that kind of isolation, you'd have to change your name to Keith Olbermann.
It's never over.
In New York City this week, a human leg was found on the subway tracks. But Mayor Adams says this is an improvement, since riding the subway used to cost an arm and a leg. For the first time, scientists have discovered that men and women think differently. They would have discovered this sooner, but the women kept asking if the brain scans made them look fat. Meanwhile, the researchers revealed that this is what a typical male brain looks like. And here's what a female brain looks like. A high school girls basketball team forfeited a recent game after players were allegedly hurt by a male who identifies as a woman. We have a picture of that player. It's Dennis Rodman. Madonna fell off a chair during a choreographed routine at a recent concert, but she's recovering nicely at a local hospital.
That's awful.
How adorable she is. Finally, Bobby, the late Portuguese pooch, has been posthumously stripped of his title as the world's oldest dog after an investigation failed to prove his old age. As per Guinness World Records rules, the title will default back to the previous record holder.
Delicious.
Now to the news. He thought he was God Almighty, so he eliminated Whitey. We're learning more about the Google executive responsible for the Gemini artificial intelligence chatbot, which in the name of inclusivity actually generated historically false pictures, including depicting Nazis as black and Asian. You remember it as if it were yesterday. Google's apologizing after their new AI Gemini chatbot created historically inaccurate pictures and refusing to show white people. Here's what popped up when Gemini was asked by Daily Wire writer Frank Fleming to create an image of a pope. Has there ever been a black pope? I mean, aside from Obama? A medieval knight? Nope. At least they didn't show Gladys Knight. Other humans started joining in on the fun, like David Burge, who asked Gemini to show him an image of a 1930s Indianapolis 500 winner. Yeah, incredibly, she won despite having her left blinker on the whole way. So, in the name of diversity, if you ask for something or someone who would be typically white, what you'd get is a non-white. For example, I asked for the sexiest picture of myself, and I got this. I did the same for Kat, and I got this.
What, they both are good public speakers?
I asked for a sexy picture of Julie Banderas, and it generated this. However, when we asked for a photo of Tom Shalhoub, it actually remained pretty accurate. Then we asked for a photo of Tyrus, and we got this. You think I want to get my ass kicked over a joke?
What you talking about, Gutfeld?
But as predicted, the bozo behind this idiocy is a woken white beta male cuck loser. I've never said that before. The developer's past social media history has resurfaced, and it turns out the past tweets of Gemini's senior director, Jack Krawczyk, reveal how he really feels about white people. And unlike his creation, they're real and historically accurate. Here are tweets from 2018. White privilege is real. And this is America, where racism is the #1 value our populace seeks to uphold. And we obviously have egregious racism in this country, which tells you, as we said last night, it's not the program, it's the programmer. And it matters. Google is one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful company in the world. It's worth over $1.7 trillion and has become inseparable from our daily lives. When we want to know something, we Google it. If someone Googles you, God knows what they might find if you happen not to be as woke as its creators. With these identity-obsessed freaks in charge, it means whatever we get back from Gemini will be as truthful as CNN covering Nick Sandmann. But as disturbing as it is it really any surprise that the invisible hand controlling the racist AI is a reverse racist himself? My advice, if he really believes white privilege is real, he should resign as soon as possible so an honest non-white could have his role. That's how I got this job. Tom, were you surprised by these revelations of who controls Google AI?
Not at all. It's amazing. I mean, he is an unimpressive person. I think Google's an unimpressive company now. There was probably 2 guys who did something smart several years ago, but like most of corporate America, these people are like, you know, the Manson family or the Jonestown cult. I mean, they are completely glassy-eyed over all of this nonsense. And I think we may have reached a breaking point. The idea was like DEI was always stupid, and I think people always knew it was stupid, but it still was new. Mm-hmm. You know, it still had the new car smell. Mm-hmm. And so in corporate America, they're like, well, you know, they knew it was dumb, but they were like, you know, this is the latest thing. We'll just kind of push papers around and we'll go along with things. Now they've got like 11 or 12 of those, you know, air fresheners around the mirror, and it still stinks. There's nothing they can do to cover up the nonsense that this whole thing is. Yeah. So, yeah, of course it doesn't surprise me, but I bet the guy's not going anywhere.
Yeah, the new car had a body in the trunk.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You know? Julie, is there anything less attractive than a white beta male?
A white beta female. Some people call me one.
No.
I think no. I think it's just the hypocrisy is just ironic. I mean, this guy is a top executive at Google, and he's whining and pissing and moaning about the fact that there's white privilege, but yet he's a white man as a top executive at Google. Yeah. And what does he have to say? I hate when white people complain about racism as if they know what it's like to be a minority. Mm-hmm. Leave it to the minorities to complain about racism. But as white and elitist as him, he's living the American dream. If he really wants somebody else who's not as white as him to live the dream, then step down and give your job to somebody else who probably would work much harder and deserve it.
Kat, you know, you can actually affect elections by changing what people see in their Google results. So this is kind of actually like a legal, private way to interfere with elections.
Okay, well, I kind of disagree with the fact that people don't think this is surprising. Mm-hmm. I actually kind of don't understand what he was trying to do here. Yeah. Because if you really break it down, right, This guy wants people to agree with his view that the world is governed by white racism. If that's what he wants people to believe, wouldn't he want them to be able to see at least a picture of one white person in a position of power at some time throughout history? I don't understand really what he was going for here. And it's impossible to parody because it's a parody of itself.
Yeah.
They must have tested it. I don't understand when it's this ridiculous. I actually don't understand what benefit could possibly come from it. What was he actually going for?
I know.
What?
I know the answer. I'm so
What?
excited. So, Kat, back in the day when we did our podcast, we were always about prequels.
Of course.
We got to know about the guy before he becomes the villain.
Right.
What was his name again? Jack what?
It was crawfish or something.
Jack Crawfish. He went through school.
Krawczyk.
Krawczyk.
Yes.
Jack Krawczyk is his name. He hates his white parents for naming him Jack Krawczyk. I can't, you see what I'm saying? So he waited, he went through school, and when he got the job of his dream, what did he do? I'll show you, Mom and Dad. I'm going to erase white people so no one can make fun of my goofy ass white name ever again. This was a diabolical project of years and years of wedgies and Melvins and the wrong side of the locker room. So that's what this was all about. He's mad at his white parents, and so he had that horrible name, so he erased white people from history. So when he hears that name, he can say, oh, no, it's Ethiopian. It's something else. Really not a goofy white name.
Tyrus, you could say the same about me. I mean, Gutfeld.
I say it all the time. Kat tells me I'm not allowed to say it on air. Black History Month. I'm getting away with all this.
Yeah. What's interesting too? This does remind me a lot of the woman marketing exec from Bud Light. That it's one person that torpedoes a company, and here you have this engineering feat, this AI thing, and it's just one person.
Old Jack Murder Crotch did it.
Murder crotch.
Murder crotch.
Murder.
It's just not even it's not even intelligently done.
No.
It's super absurd.
Yeah.
The Founding Fathers one is accurate, though, because I saw Hamilton on Broadway, and it looks just like them.
All right. Get that white guy off the set.
He's a regular old Jack in the crotch. Right?
Yes. Murder crotch. Tonight at 9 after MacGyver.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.